there was actually a time when my interest in Michael Jackson's trial seemed purely academic. This was before I moved into a hotel room in Santa Maria with 3 other fans for 4.5 months. Our goal was to attend Michael Jackson's trial daily and to support him throughout the ordeal. I wasn't a huge Michael Jackson fan as a child, though I liked him. I was a PhD student obsessed with popular culture. I studied and wrote articles on race, gender, and sexuality. And during Michael Jackson's 2004 arrest, I noticed that the media kept joking about how they thought he looked like a woman, how they thought he was too feminine. I know what it's like to feel different, to feel picked on, and I decided to do my own research.
I really hope the prosecution finally rests today. The lottery was at 6:30 every morning. We'd usually get up about 5 and leave for the courthouse at 6. There were 45 available seats in the courtroom. Usually at about 6:15 we'd file into line, and they'd count us up. If there were more than 45 people, we'd get tickets, little blue raffle tickets. And if our number was called, we'd get to go in and watch the proceedings. If it wasn't, we wouldn't get to go in.
He's saying that you can't wear anything that's for or against the case, meaning you can't wear an armband or a Michael Jackson button or anything like that. He's saying that, and he's also saying that you can't go up and talk to Michael Jackson. You can wave to him, or if he waves to you, you can wave back. But you can't, go up and have a conversation with him, or else you'll get kicked out. He has kicked people out before. He'll kick you out.
0-0.
I asked for seat 45. I consider that the best seat because it's one of the seats right in the middle, and it's right on the aisle, but it's the back row, and 45 is sort of sticking out by itself, so there's no one in front of you. You're also right on the aisle where Michael walks, and you're sticking out so you have a clear, unobstructed view. So I asked for it, specifically, because I've been in there enough. I know what seat I want.
Well, when I first arrived in Santa Maria, it was January 26th. I had left my job that Friday, and you had to be at court by 6 to get a lottery ticket so you could try to get inside the court. So this was every morning, up by 4:30 in the morning, and I was so blessed because I got in the courtroom, I would say, maybe 85% of the time. Once 2:30 was over, I would run around to the front of the courthouse to see him off. Then I would be able to run to my car and maybe have a 30-minute time window to change my clothes and get to work, because I was pretty much on a 3:15 or 3:30 schedule every day.
The 1993 allegations never made it to court. 2 grand juries refused to indict. Recorded phone conversations revealed a clear case of extortion. Though Michael Jackson paid the family an undisclosed amount to end the ordeal, he made no admission of guilt, firmly maintaining his innocence. The 2005 allegations made it to trial, but the courtroom disclosed a second attempt at extortion.
If the accuser's story is true, here's what happened. Michael Jackson and the accuser were the best of friends, and this man came and made a documentary that made it seem like that Michael Jackson was molesting this kid, and this kid thought it was horrible. Michael Jackson thought it was horrible. How could they possibly do this? So Michael Jackson kidnapped the kid and his family and held them hostage in Neverland, forced them to make a video to clear his name of anything that he hadn't done. So they all agreed at this point that Michael Jackson hadn't done anything wrong until he kidnapped the kid. While he was making this video to prove that he didn't molest the kid, he then molested the kid. And it was just like, when I realized that that was the case that we were hearing, it really made me think, wow, he's innocent. And they've got to do a lot of stuff to prove that he's guilty. And why don't I know that? Why do we know so much about the case and not know what the accusations are?
Victims are done a disservice by a trial like this, a trial where basically the facts are, there are no facts, and so the case itself is a mockery. And so when real victims see something like that happen and see this sort of mockery happen and see someone get off on charges of child molestation, it discourages them from coming forward about their own real abuse. I guess it's sort of like the boy who cried wolf, you know? Our whole culture is crying wolf all of the time, that we stop seeing actual wolves because all we see are people crying wolf left and right.
Back on the first day I went into the courtroom, I was nervous. I had done a lot of research about Michael Jackson, but what if I turned out to be wrong? I was instead quickly reconvinced of his innocence. That day, Star Arvizo, the brother of Michael Jackson's accuser, had taken the stand. His version of events sounded rehearsed and memorized. When Michael Jackson's attorney began questioning him, the courtroom erupted with laughter. Star was caught in one obvious lie after another. As the days wore on, the prosecution's case grew weaker and weaker. I saw blatant gender prejudice. Passers-by outside the courthouse were constantly yelling stuff like, "That fag's guilty." But the situation wasn't all that different on the inside. The prosecution showed its bias by making a huge fuss about Michael Jackson wearing makeup.
Michael Jackson has a skin disease, and he has, said publicly that he has a skin disease called vitiligo, where he loses pigmentation in his skin. His makeup artist has publicly talked about it. He just lost more and more pigmentation, and eventually, they just decided to even out, the dark splotches.
Michael vitiligo, you would see pictures way back in the 80s, and it showed. He was covering it up with one glove because it was starting on the hand, and they knew he was wearing shades a lot because it starts on the eyes.
But then, he just lost more and more pigmentation. There was actually an article in Marie Claire about a year ago where there was a picture of a black woman who had vitiligo. She talked about how it was such a struggle because she felt like she was sort of like losing her racial identity. She said that people made fun of her, and one of the ways that people made fun of her was that they would call her Michael Jackson. It's really frustrating to me that there's sort of like this popular mythology that Michael Jackson just decided that he wanted to be white.
They knew what was going on, but if it was somebody that they like the Tom Cruises maybe, or the Brad Pitts of the world, they would have got on television and explained to you about vitiligo so you would know what was going on. But he was a quiet, shy person. He wouldn't talk about it, and they made sure they never brought it up because they wanted you to think that he was trying to change his race. That would diminish his character so much that your own race don't want to be around you. But that has never been the case with Michael. So it's always been his race of people have always loved him and always realized that he was not against his race of people. I mean, you can have 1,000 black plastic surgeries, but who you are is inside of you. And Michael has always been for his people.
I think that people are just uncomfortable with the visual image of someone who looked black to them and now doesn't look black to them anymore, because I think the fact that an African American man can have a skin disease that can change their appearance so drastically reveals that race is a social construction. It makes people sort of wonder, well, is he still black? Like, what defines being black? What defines being an African American? Is it your culture? Is it what you look like? And it sort of, brings the whole thing up for grabs, and our neat little categories are shaken out of order, and it makes people uncomfortable, and they want a box to fit him in. They create this monster because, he shakes up these categories that make them comfortable. At least pedophile, child molester, at least that's a category that makes sense to people.
Race played very much a role in the case going to court.
I mean, only in a racist society would we make this sort of presumption that someone would want to turn themselves white.
Every opportunity, the media has dissected and manipulated these allegations to reach their own conclusions. I ask all of you to wait and hear the truth before you label or condemn me.
With the witches in Salem, it was this totally irrational hysteria, and it's the exact same thing I see happening with Michael Jackson, that he's different, and there's all this fear around that.
I mean, I think of all the things that he's associated with, all the things that people have used against him. So his race, his childlike nature, his gender, his ability to perform gender, his ability to disrupt conventional notions of sexuality. I mean, whether he's gay or straight, it is certainly true that he disrupts conventional notions of sexuality.
In other societies in the past, like a Native American, American Indian societies, people who were seen as possessing both masculine and feminine qualities were seen as as being more spiritually evolved, well, like the Burdash in some American Indian cultures.
May it please the court, we find the defendant, Rebecca Nurse, not guilty.
From the moment that people walked in there, they were surrounded in the mythos of the witch, and no real witches, nothing real. I mean, they're surrounded by literally wax figures, 50 wax figures around them. So they're surrounded not only by the mythos of witches, but by mythic witches themselves, by the fake and the constructed. There is no reality here. Instead, there's layers and layers and layers and layers of unreality, in a sense, keeping us from any history, keeping us at a distance from any sort of history. When we're told the witches were put to trial unnecessarily, that they were innocent, I don't think that we believe it, because the show hasn't allowed us at any point to believe that.
To the good folk of Salem in 1692, the devil and witchcraft were realities. They could hear him in the howling of wolves, in the creaking of an old house on a winter's night. They lived in dread of the Indians, of diseases such as smallpox, which killed their children without reason. Fear was the climate of their lives.
5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, hey! We can say we come to support Michael Jackson. We come to support Michael Jackson. We shall not be moved. This is no concert. We didn't come out here to listen to Thriller. We didn't come out here for Beat It. No Billie Jean. We came out here because do you feel what he's feeling? Do you feel the pain? Do you feel how long they've been dragging him? They have been dragging this man in the mud for over 12 years. And now it's time to stand and to stand with love and peace and harmony. Because when you think about kindness, think about Michael Jackson. Because as we standing here today, there's war over there in Iraq. There's war over here right in America. And we're trying to tear down a humanitarian
were there to represent what they believed, to stand up for what they believed was a social injustice. And those were the ones that I ended up becoming drawn to and wanting to get to know more about. And that was the path I could really see myself taking. It meant a lot to me. It made me think a lot about what those signs meant and realize how little I'd read them before. It was a social cause which I hadn't even thought of. And it really surprised me that I hadn't thought of it that way before going up there, because it totally seems to make complete sense to me now.
They call Michael king, and Michael may be a queen instead of a king.
America cannot accept anything that's different. This is what this proven. This is what that sign proves, and it makes me ashamed of my country.
Me too. But if Michael were a woman, people wouldn't even have suspected him, because they would be able to accept, like, oh, he's so giving and nurturing and maternal. People have trouble seeing a man as maternal. You know, it's like he just wants to be nurturing and giving to children, and people have an issue with that. Because he has a penis, it has to be this, this vicious, predatory thing.
Then they paraded on sheriff and detectives after detectives that had found some more of his girly magazines, and they tried to even make a big. One detective destroyed a Peter Pan book as he sees it because it was sexually explicit, but he just showed us the cover with Peter Pan on the front, and he didn't open the book or anything, and the jury went like,
And I'm really glad that Michael Jackson happens to be straight, because if he were gay, like, there'd be no chance for him, That is what is the saddest thing,
Shame that the widespread homophobia in America has, tended to be tied back to Michael Jackson. Like, a lot of the naysayers, they say, oh, he's obviously not straight, therefore he must be having sex with little boys, he must be a pedophile. And, by default, they're kind of, attacking homosexuals, and they're kind of being homophobic. Even if Michael were gay, it doesn't make him a pedophile. Pedophilia is not a sexuality, it's a mental illness.
You can use your tongue to slander me. Set me on fire. But when the ashes
His reputation is so tarnished. The American public has not been getting the right information. They have not seen what's actually happening.
Destiny. Driven. Yeah. For 13 years, I was known as an emulator.
We were just playing, a Michael Jackson song and singing, and the cop came over and made us turn it off. But there was a guy here with a sign earlier that says that all gay people should be executed. Apparently that's protected. That's protected under the First Amendment, but not playing some music and dancing.
I'll be on my own. Left alone. If I ever left you, I'll be cracking for you. Now what I'm gonna do? For I cast up my pearls in the pond of certainty. And not nothing left to me. Love is what we need. That's what it takes. Love is what we need.
Doesn't matter what race, what ethnic background, what country, what an economic background you come from, we just all join together. And like I said, to have a replacement family like that on the ready and would care enough to give me a cake and sing happy birthday to me and surprise me and to take me to Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was very special because we learned that Michael loves Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I think we're just, as a society, getting put more and more and more into conforming. And then you take these people who don't fit in and you just don't understand them.
All the fans who moved out there, we totally created our own world. We created our own rituals. We created our own day-to-day routine. We created the subculture from scratch, pretty much, and we didn't think about it. we created this new sort of culture that was based on ideals of love and valuing difference. And of course, it's not like, it didn't always perfectly fall into those ideals.
These weren't your typical fans. These, by and large, weren't fans that wanted an autograph, that wanted to touch Michael and grab his hair and pull at him and all of that, stuff that comes with, fans of a lot of other superstars. These were people who were there, they had a purpose, they had a cause.
I had to quit high school, unfortunately, and my job in Tennessee so I could come out here to support Michael. But it's all worth it because I feel like I'm doing something that is meant to be done, because I feel Michael Jackson is completely innocent and that he's being framed.
Michael Jackson has a genuine spiritual, intellectual, inspirational connection to his fans. I mean, over the years, I think he saw how his fans stuck by him through the thick and the thin. If it had been fans of anyone else, I mean, that would have ruined their career. But instead, it made his rapport with his fans stronger and closer.
They've watched his interviews, they've seen him talk, and they understand what kind of person he really is. And they'll support him to any end, because it's a tragedy what's happened, really.
I love him because he's such a genuine person. He's caring, he's loving. Most celebrities are so stuck up in showing off their bling.
I mean, the way that he describes his creative process is a lot like Virginia Woolf describes the androgynous mind, because it's having this just completely like transparent, unblocked mind for spirit to just sort of like come through you, something greater than you to come through you. In your art.
I've seen some of the most amazing artwork and the most amazing poetry and writing that I've ever seen in general from Michael Jackson fans. And so creativity is contagious.
When the sun won't shine, is your name written in the book of life? You ostracize, you criticize, but have you noticed what's in your eyes? It's time to take a stand, stop the judging. Everybody needs some loving, stop the hate, cause all you wanna do is manipulate. So why you keep on judging me, tell it like it is, call it how I see it. So why you keep on pulling the lid over your eye, making me cry? So why you keep on judging me, you don't even have the authority, more the man, we all the same, all for one.
You know, I've always seen myself as a kind of a different kind of a person. You know, that's part of why you're drawn to Michael. It's like, well, I just want to climb the tree. And you're like, you hear people say, no, get out of that tree, you're 40-something. And you're like, why? I mean, why does he have to act like everybody else, you know? And like I say, when you're the type of person that doesn't act like everybody else, or doesn't maybe fit the mold of what everybody else is doing all the time, you take heart to that. You want to comfort them. You want to put your arms around them like, wait a minute, no, don't jump down their throat, don't hurt them, don't, crucify them for not being like you.
One day when the fans were really upset because Michael was late getting to court, and he showed up in his pajamas. I think everybody knows about Pajama Day, it was called Bananas in Pajamas in the headlines. And yet the fans were freaked out because they thought he was getting a raw deal, that he was pressured to go right from a hospital bed into court with pain, etc.
Michael wore his pajamas to court. Everyone feels that, comedians made a joke out of it. But when you're there and you're living in the moment, it was the most devastating part of the trial. Someone came out and announced, okay, Michael's late for court. The judge is threatening arrest if he's not here in so many minutes. We got on our cell phones. We found out what hospital he was in, and we were on our way to that hospital.
We jumped in the car. I mean, we didn't even brush our hair.
We didn't brush hair. We didn't brush teeth.
Yeah.
Clothes on from the night before.
Yeah, we were wearing our pajamas pretty much too, but we didn't have pajamas that were as cute as Michael's. Yeah. We just were sleeping in our clothes.
And we saw Michael on the freeway. He had left the hospital, and we were right behind him on the freeway. And he could see us and our expressions. We had our signs out the window. We was like, "Go, Michael! Go, Michael! Go, Michael!" And we were crying, and we were, right behind him as his cheerleaders, like, "Hurry up! Hurry up! You're gonna make it! You're gonna make it!"
And we drove there, and as soon as we got out, people were getting up in our face and being like, "He's guilty!" Yeah.
I started to see this other side to the fans where they thought, this is a person who's being needlessly picked on because of his appearance.
Then once he got out of the car and he went inside the courtroom, I was just on my knees, and I was just like, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Lord, that he had made it. And I was just totally out of breath and exhausted.
Yeah, so that day I I just sort of like sat down outside the courthouse and I wrote Michael Jackson this letter where I talked about how, I've suffered with back pain and I know what it's like, and like these are some of the things that helped me, and we were waiting there and there was this line of fans waiting for him to come in, and he drove up and he ended up stopping, and I just sort of reached the letter in and I said, everything that's ever helped me with back pain is in here. And he, deliberately sort of like reached his hand over to me, and I reached over and I took his hand, and he just has this really, soft, gentle energy, like he's almost not of this world, and it felt really peaceful even in the midst of all this chaos and, screaming fans and that type of thing. It just felt like this really, really peaceful moment.
We had been deliberating for days, and we had gone through a weekend and there was no verdict, and then we had gone back into we were starting another week, and my intention was to sit outside the courthouse every day until the verdict came down.
So Father, in the name of Jesus, we ask that you go and touch their hearts and that you cause the truth to come forth, Lord.
I'm so sick. I tried so hard. I'm sick physically and mentally. This trial has drained me completely. What they're doing to him, to Michael, is a crime.
Touch every juror. Father, touch their hearts and let them know the truth.
What I would tell my students throughout the rest of my career is that when someone is trying to hurt you or bring you down, you fight the justice system all the way through.
I was at the courthouse, ran into the Holiday Inn to get the charger for my camera, and Cherie was there. She had the news on, and it said that there was a verdict. She said she's going to meet me at the courthouse in a few minutes, so I'm on my way right now. I'm really, really nervous. I feel like I'm going to cry.
That hurt, seeking and to set you free. I'm free at last and entertaining for you. Yeah, I love it. 'Cause that's what I was born to do. 'Cause that's what I was born to do.
I remember Michael arriving, and I tried so much to stand up at the gate and try to, greet him and say, go on in, it's going to be okay. But I was so weak, I just had to sit on the ground on verdict day. I couldn't even stand up. Everybody was pressed against the fence. I was too weak. I had to sit down.
No, you can't. God is the only one that can help you with that. It's eternal.
What I'm talking about.
That can work in your life.
Well, the verdict is in, and people are gathering. It's a crazy scene.
BJ, you freaking out? BJ's freaking out. BJ, restrain yourself. He got a restraining order slapped against him.
Fighting for what's right.
Michael did nothing wrong, and it's going to be proved in court today.
How did you feel when you saw the caravans all pull up? Were you nervous?
That's a Mike. It's Victory Day party at Neverland.
People were sitting behind me saying that they hope that the verdict is guilty and that the Michael Jackson fans riot and are violent and throw things. They were really excited about seeing that spectacle. So I really feel like our culture is in decline.
Liz, we're down here. They're getting ready to do the verdict.
the first account?
First was conspiracy, I heard.
Conspiracy innocent. What's the second account? What was the second account?
And my mind mentally was really just gone. But I began to hear these cheers, and I began to say, I was screaming at people. I was like, is it over? Is it over? Those were my words.
It's good! It's good!
Not guilty! Not guilty!
Not
He's vindicated! He's vindicated!
Is that the last one?
Oh, yes! I'm happy. I thought that the right decision.
It's all over.
Oh, God.
Cherie, how do you feel?
It's over.
Let's go, break it up, folks. We got a gurney coming through. Let's let this young lady pass.
And just proving Jordy Chandler, Gavin Arvizo, Jason Francia, we're all liars. I'll tell you, a lot of people give up a lot of things to come here and support this man, and it was worth it. I'm telling you,
it was worth it. In the courtroom, I was about 6 rows back to the left, so I had a really good view of the jury and a good view of Michael's side of his face, so I could see what he was doing and stuff. And guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, all the way through, and we couldn't have asked for it. But they said no outbursts at the beginning, but the fans couldn't control their emotions, and they were sort of yes, and they were pitching it is the single most important moment of my life.
I returned to the courthouse to both reclaim and celebrate Michael Jackson's innocent verdicts.